Hello and welcome to the Tennis Podcast live from Wimbledon from myself, Catherine Whitaker, Matt Roberts, David Law and Jude the Bear. This is a lovely bear from the Wimbledon shop. We've just named him Jude. A half an hour ago he was called "You bunch of useless idiots." But now he's called Jude because England have just won the football. Our hopes remain alive and our mood has changed drastically over the course of the last half an hour. We're in a good place and we're pumped.
Oh, we are. Look, I love tennis. It's my favourite sport. But honestly, the rush of a last-minute goal in football is hard to beat. And Jude, our guy, oh, what a moment.
Couldn't have won it without Jude.
45 minutes ago Matt was clutching Jude for comfort, pretending it was Billie Jean. And now Jude is proudly on the front of our bench.
Where he will stay for the entirety of the tournament until he fails and we're out.
No,
That's not going to happen.
No, if Andy Murray thinks he can win the doubles with brother Jamie, more on that to come later, then England can win the Euros with the help of Jude. Folks, it is great to have you for company here on our final YouTube live show ahead of the championship starting tomorrow in just 16 hours. There will be tennis players playing competitive Wimbledon matches on these courts behind us in 16 hours time, and of course we will be here live at the end of play every day and at the end of the football if England are playing to review the day and look ahead to the next one. If you like what you're watching, please do like and subscribe. Our numbers are climbing and it helps us a lot, so thanks very much for that. And if you like what we're wearing, the links to that are in our show notes. David and I both own this shirt. Wasn't expecting to be in a wardrobe sharing situation with David in my lifetime, but
Who's
here we
more
are.
surprised by that?
We've managed 17 years of knowing one another without ever turning up in the same clothes before.
And now it's a risk. Now David and I have to text one another in the morning and make sure we're not wearing the same thing, which is it's weird, but I quite like it.
Testament to just how nice the Oxford purple striped shirt actually is.
The lilac striped Oxford shirt.
Yes.
I'm a big fan of it, and I'm a big fan of the Wimbledon shop. The Wimbledon collection is what everything that we're wearing is from. Matt was wearing an item from it earlier and got mistaken for a tennis player. Texted the group.
It's been a good day.
It's already a good day, he said on the group.
I haven't had that experience.
So it's all available online, shop.wimbledon.com, and global shipping is available. But also, if you are coming on site, lucky you for starters, but do make sure you head to the newly refurbished Wimbledon shop underneath court number 1. It's incredibly obvious where it is. It's right there as you come onto site, and it's lovely in there, and the stuff is lovely too, so make sure you check it out. We had our interview day stragglers today. We of course have our order of play to look ahead to, and we have some questions to answer as well from those of you that are with us live in the chat, have been firing away some questions. So let's get going without further ado, and let's maybe start with Andy Murray. It was the most anticipated interview press conference of the day. The time of it changed, I think, 4 times.
Yes,
4 times.
I made several other plans that I ended up cancelling. So I haven't actually moved into the house that I'm supposed to be staying in.
David's homeless right now.
That's still to come tonight.
The best dressed homeless person in town.
So I was trying to slot that into the afternoon, and then one of Andy Murray's time changes scuppered that, and then another one made it possible, and then I decided to just shelve the whole thing. No, it was, to be honest, classic Andy Murray, wasn't it? This afternoon, the whole thing. He leaves it late. He doesn't entirely know even now what he's going to do. We went into a press conference. I think I came out somewhat encouraged by his sort of state of mind and the fact that he was talking. I think most encouraging was that he was talking about not being worried about his health in terms of playing. If I play, I'm not going to do myself serious damage, and that was a real concern of ours. I know that doesn't guarantee anything, but he said really the only thing I could do to myself, I think, that is going to cause a real issue is something to the wound. And he said, but honestly, if I mess up a couple of stitches, I don't care. he's mainly worried about his spine, which or i.e. that's the concern. If there was something that could go wrong with that based on the procedure he's had done and playing with it might endanger, then he said, I'd feel very differently about things, which I know is what we were most concerned about. So that was all very encouraging. And he did say, I've been getting better and better with each day that I practiced. And he said, I played a complete set today. And I'm thinking, well, you've got to at least play 3 in 2 days' time, with nerves jangling as well. So that's a very different situation. But he was encouraged. And then he went into an interview with my colleague Russell Fuller for the BBC, and he basically said, I think the likelihood is I probably won't play singles as things stand. I'm more likely to just play the doubles. So who knows where we'll be this time tomorrow night, but that's when I think we're going to get a verdict.
Yes, he gave quite a lot more detail about the nature of the surgery and the reasons for the surgery. He confirmed it was to remove a cyst from his spine, but also a decompression procedure to relieve spinal stenosis, which is general compression on the spinal cord. I believe it's in the lumbar spine. Keyhole surgery, but he does still have stitches in his back, and I think will have stitches at the time that he plays his first match, whether it's Tuesday or Thursday in the doubles. He still doesn't have sensation in his leg, which feels like a problem. He said it is improving, but there's just, it's how long is a piece of string in terms of a timeline for that. It could be he could wake up tomorrow with full sensation, or it could take weeks or months, or frankly it could never return. He said it's like sleeping on your arm funny and losing sensation, like the limb literally kind of just goes to sleep. But yeah, as you say, David, in terms of long-term damage, it's the wound rather than the spine that's the issue, and so in that respect he doesn't see it as a massive potential risk playing, but he says what he's looking for is closure. It was very interesting. I went to Jamie Murray's press conference a couple of hours earlier on in the day. It was like, Andy's delayed his press conference by 2 hours, but have another Murray to help you fill the time while you're waiting for Andy. So Jamie comes into press, and it's all pretty normal stuff. Honestly, he doesn't know an awful lot more than we do, quite genuinely. He hasn't been practicing with Andy. He confirmed that they haven't practiced together at all, which I guess is what you'd expect. Andy himself has only been hitting balls for a couple of days, but kind of the one killer line was in answer to a question from Matt Futterman, who said to him, what do you think Andy is looking for from this venture, from this Wimbledon? And he goes, I'm curious too. He said, I'm not entirely sure what his goal is. And I really believed him when he said that. Like, as much as they're brothers and they love one another and they share so much and they're really close, Jamie Murray is not like Andy Murray. And not many people on this planet are. And
I've never seen a player look quite like him.
It's a mindset that barely anyone can fathom, not even his brother.
Yeah, he is a one-off, Andy Murray, and I've never met anybody or come across any tennis player who leaves you guessing like this, and with so many conflicting opinions around him and amongst all of us in the media as to what he's going to do, what he's thinking, and honestly it does feel like he changes his mind quite often as well, and I don't judge him for that. I just felt very warm towards him in that press conference and thought, go on mate, I can understand why you're doing this, and do whatever you need to do.
Yeah, I think that was kind of how I ended up leaving that press conference. Like, I get it now. I didn't really think that I did understand why he was even trying to play this Wimbledon, given the state of his body. It just seemed like, of course he wants to play Wimbledon, but the state of his body surely wasn't allowing him to. But I thought he put it really well in reply to your question, Catherine, and Matt Futterman's question as well. Just that experience of getting to play Wimbledon one last time, and he described it as closure, which is what he's looking for. And he compared it to last year, where he wasn't planning for that to be his last Wimbledon. So if that were his last Wimbledon, it would just kind of feel wrong to him. He wants to at least know that this is the last one and have that moment on centre court. And I thought he was pretty emotional while he was saying those words. We were very close at the front of the press conference, and you could really see the emotion on his face and hear it in his words. But it did make sense to me why he's putting himself through this.
He was asked towards the end of the press conference, in fact, the very last question, he was asked what kind of ceremony he would like, because Sally Bolton has briefed the press about the number of different scenarios that they have planned for, depending on what the moment ends up being and what Andy himself wants. And he was asked, have you thought about what you would like? And he really, really couldn't give an answer, could he? It's like, as much as he's agonised about retirement and how to do it and what it's going to look like for seemingly forever, it's like he hasn't thought beyond the moment the umpire calls game, set and match. He's thought about the competitive experience of retiring. He hasn't thought a moment beyond that. And he referenced, with a wry smile, he referenced this sort of retirement that he's already had in Australia 5 years ago and how awkward that was. And then kind of mic drop moment, his last words in that press conference, he said, but it's different this time.
Yeah.
And that was him saying, this is really it. This is it.
He's at peace with this being the end of his career, at least. There's an acceptance there now. He just wants this last bit. He needs it. He needs to give it every opportunity. And I still don't necessarily think retirement will come easily to Andy Murray, but I certainly think he knows that it is time. And it's just a question of seeing if he can somehow get this moment that he really desperately wants.
This is it. Do you think there's still a chance of the Olympics?
Look, I am very sort of over emotional and over sentimental. I read into that it's different this time as this is it. Wimbledon is it.
That's interesting. I think he might still play that. I think he meant this is it for Wimbledon, that he's not going to sort of have second thoughts and want to come back next year. I mean, he's already said he's not going to go to New York, the US Open. I still do think that there's a chance of the Olympics, because the one thing he was at pains to make out is that he's been feeling better every single day. So if that were to continue, then by Thursday when he plays the doubles, maybe he might be in a better shape still. So imagine what he could be like in a few weeks' time for the Olympics, looking on a sort of glasses half full.
I should have followed up and said,
way.
how did you do in the sprint race against Johnny O'Mara today then? Any better? Any closer? I guess the question is whether he can get what he's looking for from just doubles. And if he's confident he can, then why not just play doubles? Why put yourself through this for the singles? That's kind of my confusion with it all. I worry that he can't get whatever it is he's searching for this week from the doubles, and if he could, he'd just be doing the doubles.
He's a singles player initially, and he wants to be a singles player one more time. He wants the whole thing. I get it. He wants everything. And I actually really, when he was talking about it, I was thinking back to Novak Djokovic yesterday and how he was just saying, it's Wimbledon. And I actually loved the fact that it wasn't just a number. It wasn't just a chance for a 25th Grand Slam for Novak Djokovic. It wasn't a chance for Andy Murray to just play another tournament. It's to play Wimbledon. And I really like the fact that they're just reminding us what a massive deal this place is. And that should be respected. And they're going to give it every chance.
I love that tennis players get FOMO, even ones that have been around the block a million times. David and I had a very brief chat earlier about the Thomas Mahatch of all of this.
What's he thinking?
I'm all ears.
Well, let's just say that singles match ends up happening on Tuesday, prime time slot on the BBC on centre court. I could imagine Thomas Mahatch not
putting in a shocker,
not coping with that brilliantly,
being seriously nervous ahead of it.
Yeah, I could imagine him laying an egg. Now, I don't know how big an egg he'd have to lay to beat Andy
over
Murray
5 sets,
with
I
a
think he'd
numb
have
leg
time.
9 days out from back surgery, but I could see him laying an egg. I don't know. You're the Thomas Mahatch expert.
Well, the thing with Thomas Mahatch is that I'll always say he will play the most brilliant tennis up to 5-all, 30-all, and that's when I don't quite trust him to produce those amazing shots that he's capable of. And like the whole match might feel like 5-all, 30-all. You know, it's going to be such a big occasion. So I could definitely imagine him being quite tight. I do think over 5 sets, he will probably loosen up at some point, and he is a quality player. Like I know we joke about the whole best in the world thing, but he is a quality player. And if Murray's not capable, you know, I do think Mahatch will get a kind of a grip of it and probably end up winning. But
he didn't look quality against Artifice the other day.
He didn't, and as I said, he did have that sort of neck problem himself.
There's a possibility that it's the worst tennis match anyone has ever seen.
And everybody
There's
loves
a
it
possibility
anyway.
that it's the first half of England against Slovakia, the tennis version. No one needs to see that again. Maybe Slovakia fans. Apologies to all Slovakia fans.
Quite happy
watching.
to just get through to sort of minute 95 and start there, really.
Okay. Well, look, I'm saying this every night. We'll keep you posted on Andy Murray and Thomas Mahatch.
We should know in tomorrow's show, shouldn't we, really?
I think he's going to leave it till Tuesday morning, David. I do.
Do you?
Yeah, I do. It's Andy Murray. He was supposed to come to press at 2 o'clock today. He came at 4.
And then it was 3:30.
And then it was 3:30, which we found out about at 3:28. Yeah, I think it's going to be Tuesday morning, and I think that's fine. There's going to be a lot of lucky losers hanging around the sign-in desk, I think.
I wonder who it is. I wonder who's the one.
Well,
Who's
quite
next
a
in
lot of
line?
men's lucky losers are already in.
Yeah.
Luca Van Asch is in. I think Mpeshi Pericard is in.
Yep.
I think it might, David, be Maxime Cressy.
Oh, okay. Well, that's fine then.
With the possibility of getting in. Yeah, because Alejandro Davidovich Fokina and Dominic Kupfer withdrew today.
It's going to be a really tough blow for Mahatch when he's informed at, 10 o'clock on Tuesday morning that he's no longer on centre court. He's been bumped to
court 16.
Court 13 to play a lucky loser.
And a completely different everything to what he's presumably psyching himself up for right now.
Yeah.
Poor old Thomas Mahatch, just a footnote in someone else's story.
He's not a very disciplined player. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And I feel like when you're playing someone in Andy Murray's state, you've just got to be kind of ruthless. And I'm not sure if that is Mahatch, but as I said, he
doesn't want to get booed on centre court for drop shotting Andy Murray.
He I don't think he would take that.
He wouldn't like that.
No.
Exactly.
I won't do that again.
But he can be a bit of a showman.
Yeah.
But again, that's not.
No one
going to
wants
go
to see
down
the
well,
Thomas
is it?
Mahatch show on Tuesday, do they? Wow. Okay.
I remember when Nick Kyrgios played Murray in his comeback match at Queen's. I mean, honestly, I think Kyrgios was not trying to win, but he was basically giving Andy Murray shots that he could get to deliberately because he didn't want to humiliate him.
Yeah, it felt a bit Champions Tour
Yeah,
moments in that match,
really
didn't it?
did, yeah.
Okay, well look, I keep saying it, we will keep you posted on the Andy Murray and the Thomas Mahatch front. A couple of other players, notable players that came through the press conference rooms today. The defending women's champion, Marketa Vondrousova, crucially telling us that she's fit to play. It doesn't seem to be a massive concern for her, the hip leg injury that she sustained a week or so ago.
No, there was nothing. Like when I asked the same question to Sabalenka and she immediately said, I'm not 100%. There was not a flicker with Vondrousova. There was no games being played there. And so I would say that she is in good shape. I think the bigger question for her will be, can she handle the moment? I mean, I said, you're one of the 2 players in this entire tournament who knew last week when you were going to play and where you were going to play. And that's you and Carlos Alcaraz because you're the champions. And her face sort of lit up, and I said, have you allowed yourself to think what that might be like? And she said, I am really looking forward to it. But she's also talked in that press conference about the pressure of being a top 10 player with a Grand Slam champion, and how last year she was able to just not worry about any of that, and it's different.
Yeah, she said she talked about being stress-free last year, and I said, how do you recreate that, pressure-free environment? And she said it's not possible to play stress-free when you're number 6 in the world. Basically saying I'll never be stress-free again now that I'm forever a Wimbledon champion. It was a really insightful line, wasn't it? But I'm thrilled that she is fit for that title defence, and it's going to be fascinating because no one knows what to do with Marketa Vondrousova in predictions ever, let alone as a defending Grand Slam champion for the first time. So look, I don't know what I'm going to do with her in my predictions, so watch this space and subscribe to the newsletter if you want to find out. Folks, we have our very first special guest of Live from Wimbledon 2024. I am thrilled to welcome Jamie Baker, Wimbledon Tournament Director, to the Tennis Podcast. Jamie, how are you doing?
I'm good. I didn't realise I was the first, but before we start talking tennis, though, I know I've got the Wimbledon tie on, but you guys have got some nice kit here.
I know.
I like that.
It's good, isn't it?
Thank you very much.
Where'd you get that?
It's funny you should ask that, Jamie.
We went on a visit to this number 1 Wimbledon shop.
Yeah.
It was
Quite nice down
It was
there,
really
isn't
great.
Yeah, we're big fans. This is Jude, our
Nice.
teddy bear from the Wimbledon shop, named
Okay.
for Jude Bellingham. Just
Tonight.
half an hour
Fair
ago.
Mere
enough.
moments
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah.
Staying there for a
The-
full 2 weeks?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Lucky charm now.
Tentatively saying that. Yeah.
Yep.
The vibe of this show was going to be very different half an hour ago. So we're very glad to have you. I'm imagining the eve of the tournament is a busy, anxious, exciting time for you.
Yeah, all of those things. Although I do love qualifying / practice week, the way everything kind of builds. And I was just thinking, as I was walking up here, I find it astonishing now on Sunday night when we're up here, everybody else is gone, this place is like completely quiet, almost as if it was any other night of the year. The club is shut down, no one's here, and then we know what's coming tomorrow. It just like explodes to life. I find it pretty exciting.
Yeah, I'm a Christmas Eve person, not a Christmas Day person. These few days that we've had here on site before the tournament starts, I've found incredibly special. It's been fantastic. We've just been talking about Andy Murray. You'll be shocked to hear.
Yeah. What's going on?
We're hoping you might tell us.
Yeah. He had his press conference earlier. He gave us a very, very frank update about what he's been going through after the last week, the uncertain situation that he's currently in, what his desperate hopes are for trying to create some kind of moment that feels like a fitting way to end his incredible career. Just knowing him as well as you do, you first met him like under 10s, is that right?
7 or 8, yeah.
Incredible. What do you think closure looks and feels like for Andy Murray in that incredible mind of his?
I don't think I know any more than you do on that question. I guess I do. He has had an unbelievable career. I guess the one I do have one thing in the fact that I've been through the process of stopping playing. So somebody very wise always said to me when I was really quite young, they said, Jamie, one of the easiest things you've ever done is kind of basically start being a tennis player, because you pick up a game as a kid and you get a bit better, and it's such a privilege to do it for a living. Like, so any athlete is such a privilege to do it. The hardest decision you'll ever make is deciding when to stop doing that. And the reason why that is because you can get so much advice from your family, from your friends, from professionals, from whoever. But whether you stop playing when you're 25 or 37 or 41, you're young, and it's only you that has to live with that for the rest of your life. So navigating your way into making the decision and being at peace with it yourself we can all see it on his face and the way he talks. That's exactly what he's trying to navigate at the moment. And he, for everything that he's achieved, and particularly here, obviously, I think probably all of us hope that he can navigate that well and get the moment and the recognition that he deserves probably as much as anybody.
But based on what you've seen and heard this last week, and he's been on the practice court the last couple of days, do you think if he doesn't have another setback, that he will get some kind of moment on a tennis court, whether it's singles or doubles?
Yeah, if he doesn't have a setback, I think absolutely. I mean, before we even talk about tennis, I mean, having had surgery on his back, it's pretty incredible that we're actually even talking about he's going to go out and play tennis at a Grand Slam at any level. But it kind of just sums him up, really. Like, there's no point in talking about him in a way that's in the least bit normal. He's not. You don't achieve things, and you don't achieve what he has achieved in the way that he's achieved it if you are. So, look, there's still a couple of days. Well, one full day of kind of, I guess, prep slash rehab for him to do. But yeah, I think unless he gets a setback, I think we will see him on a tennis court.
Do you worry about him in retirement? Do you think he's going to find it tough for a while?
I think most athletes probably do. I mean, he's got an amazing life as a result of everything that he's achieved and who he is as a person. He's got an amazing wife. He's got 4 wonderful kids. Like, he is. I'm not worried about him not having anything to do. That's for sure. He's got plenty to do. But it's like anybody else, an athlete. Like, he's not ever done anything other than play tennis. So he's going into a new chapter. I mean, think in the normal world how not destabilizing, but how different it is when you start a new job. I think it's kind of like that times 100, especially when it's somebody who's probably like achieved so much.
Watch this space. We keep saying we'll keep you posted on Andy Murray, and we all feel the same, don't we? We would just want him to have some kind of moment that helps him achieve some peace. No, you've got things to do. Just a couple of topics we want to cover off with you while you've got it. We're about to look ahead to tomorrow's order of play. Centre court starts at 1:30 tomorrow, as it has done for the last couple of years. I know that was a topic of some contention last year. Novak Djokovic and Andy Murray queried it and suggested it should be moved back earlier to where it was before. Sally Bolton covered it in her pre-tournament press conference and said the club was comfortable with the situation. Could you just explain the thinking behind the 1:30 start and leaving it as it is?
I'm going to surprise you. I actually love talking about scheduling. Maybe it's because people force me to do it all the time. It's like most of my day. But I do actually quite like talking about the challenges and the considerations and all the different aspects to it. So with that one in particular, I think probably the main point is that, well, from my point of view, our has to be one of our number one goals every single day is to finish the matches that we get on the schedule. So when we get into a position where we have matches unfinished coming back the next day, we can never say that that's a successful day. That'll never be the case. That will always be the case. Sometimes things happen that are out of our control. Now, I think quite a lot of people certainly here share the view that I'm going to give here. Changing the timing of a schedule is quite a big thing. It has impacts across the whole grounds, the whole event, television, players, everything. Over 40,000 people coming in here every day, so it's a big thing. So our what we're really led by on that is not to make any knee-jerk reactions. So if we're going to make a decision to change any part of the scheduling, what we're really trying to do is be driven by the information and the data that we have over multiple years. And the reason why we've kept at it this year is because there isn't any evidence over multiple years to show that the timings we have are an issue. Last year there was 2 matches that got held over. That's not good. If we're in the same position this year, I mean, we review scheduling every year anyway, but clearly we will have a really close eye on that. And look, the final thing I would say on scheduling is, and this is quite ironic considering some of the conversations that have come up maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago, one of the best things about our schedule is that we stop playing at 11 o'clock. So I think that is just fantastic. We're not playing in the middle of the night. I'm really happy with where we're at on that.
You are speaking our language, Jim.
Especially this guy.
Yeah, gosh, there's very little I hate more than great tennis happening at 3 o'clock in the morning and people thinking that's okay. Just on that point of trying to finish every day's play on centre court, something I do find interesting is how the roof comes into that, because it does seem that with the 1:30 start time, you don't have to have extraordinary things to happen for that final match to finish under the roof. Are you comfortable with the roof being deployed as a way to finish the day rather than just because it's raining? It doesn't quite seem to me like necessarily that's what the roof was originally for.
I think that's fair to say. That is a gradual shift maybe in culture and mindset here. When we put the roofs in, we were definitely, okay, that's our insurance policy against the rain. But actually, the way that I guess the expectations of everybody involved in tennis and the nature of the business now, the size of the business, we need to have continuous tennis really as much as possible going on. So I think when we started, we were very much, we're an outdoor tournament, we're an outdoor tournament, we're an outdoor tournament. We are an outdoor tournament, but we're not going to be martyrs about it and not use it for the benefit of players and fans and everybody. So I think that's probably where we're at. And look, we will have, in terms of through the player lens, you're right. When we get to that third match, if it's particularly if it's a day where it's one women's and two men's, the likelihood of that last match finishing under the roof is pretty high. So what we're actually doing now, and we kind of started last year, is we're thinking, right, okay, what's our cutoff for starting a match outside when we know we've only got a certain amount of daylight left? Actually, let's tell the players early, if we go beyond this time, you're going to start with the roof shut. You're in the same conditions, you're going to finish the match, and away we go from there. That's something we weren't doing a few years ago, so that was received pretty well by the players last year.
And what is that time?
We would look for a men's match, we would look around about an hour and a half's worth of daylight, and for a women's match slightly less. So if we're getting less than that, we'll be starting to think, right, actually, is this a day where we would want to start that match with the roof shut?
It's interesting. Yeah, it's really interesting. One last topic to cover with you. I know it's a very emotive topic for everyone at Wimbledon and the club. It's the development of the site across the road, and the hopes for that, so that qualifying can be brought on site, an extra show court, expansion of public areas. I'm a local resident. I get a lot of emails from my MP about it. I have submitted my support for the plans.
Thank you. Please keep doing that.
That should do it.
Yeah. I wrote comments and everything. Yeah, there was editorial. But it's hanging in the balance, isn't it? It's with the General London Assembly right now. There is a lot of opposition to it, not from me, but from a lot of people locally. How confident are the club of that passing, of that getting through? And how important is it that it does?
We're I'd say hugely confident on the merits of the scheme. Like this is not a bad place to sit and kind of try to visualize what it might look like in the future. I think it's just so exciting, like for so many different reasons. Just if I could mention too. Grand Slams, if we're taking a long-term view, we have to play the whole tournament on one site. We can make Roehampton as great as we like, and we've invested a lot of money in it over the last few years to try to close the gap between here and there. So the players there do get much more of a Wimbledon experience, but we're all kidding ourselves if we think that is, in the long term, the definition of the pinnacle of the sport. So, if we want to continue that is really, really important. Secondly, with that, at the moment, when we stop qualifying on Thursday, all those courts at Roehampton have no other value to the main players who are playing at the championships. We're not actually adding courts here. We're taking the footprint of Roehampton, we're putting it over the road, and what will happen is all those courts, when qualies finishes, is now available for all of the main draw players. So you imagine you're coming to Wimbledon during that week, you're going to see people battling it out to play here in the main draw, but you're also going to be 5 feet away from Carlos Alcaraz sweating in practice. And imagine doing that whilst you're walking around a park. Like, to me, that is just amazingly exciting. And then the third thing is about the new park. This land is has been a private members golf club. It's all very well having that, and if people want to sit and look through the fence and not have access to the land, that's one thing, but we are the only people that can give that land back to our neighbours. And that, anybody particularly who has young kids or likes to be out and have some fresh air,
dogs, Jamie,
and dogs in that area, having a massive garden, not everybody has that. It's just such an asset. And just the last one on that, look, yes, we will often talk about it's so important that we are a good neighbour, and it's in our DNA. It's actually more than that. We consider ourselves as one of the community here. Like you can see when you're at the top of the hill walking down, we are part of this really amazing community, this global venue that's in this really residential, lovely area. We're not kind of sitting on the outside and looking in. We are part of it, and that's why we feel so strongly about it. So it's for that reason I think we will get the right result for everybody involved, but obviously the actual decision doesn't sit with us.
I really hope so.
Yeah,
I know I'm biased, but I have, I am a local resident, and I've read the plans really closely, and I think it's great from all perspectives. So if it does pass, I'll take some personal credit.
You should.
You're welcome.
And it's pretty important, really, isn't it? When you consider what we've just come from at Roland Garros, where they've basically made that a 3-week tournament, and they had packed Susan Longling crowds for the first round of qualifying. It was incredible, and you don't want to be left behind. And listen, nobody, I love this place as much as anybody, but there is competition between. It's friendly competition, but there is competition between the 4 slams.
Yeah, and look, we know all the amazing attributes that we have here at Wimbledon and the championships, but at no point this place is. We haven't achieved what we've achieved by being complacent. You can never, ever, ever be complacent. And your point about being left behind is, this is really about engaging the next generation of people with tennis. Getting, if you don't have role models and you can't get access to something, how are you meant to know that that's for you? And this is such a valuable way in which we can do that. There's only so far we can go with this setup that we have just now. So that's one of the reasons why it's so exciting.
When are we expecting the next update on it?
Well, I don't think we have anything confirmed, but hopefully not too long.
Okay.
Fingers crossed.
Good luck.
Fingers crossed over here. Jamie, good luck
Thank
with
you.
that and with the championships.
Thank you.
What time do you get up in the morning tomorrow?
I actually always get up earlier than I need to because of my kids, so I almost don't even need to set an alarm. But I'll be one of the first here.
You're a David Law,
Yes.
not a Catherine Whitaker.
Good luck, Jamie.
Jamie, thank you so much for your
Thank
time.
you.
Really
Thanks.
appreciate it, and
Okay.
best of luck.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Speaking your language, Matt.
Curfews.
I thought you were going to go, there's this tournament. It's called Wimbledon. Interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Anything jump out?
Well, a lot. I mean, first and foremost, I think I've known Jamie since he was 18 and trying to make it as a tennis player, and I remember him qualifying for Grand Slam tournaments himself. He always came across as somebody who just gave everything, just like Andy, really, and 2 peas in a pod in that way. I mean, he didn't have Andy's ability, and he'd be the first to say so, but it's impressive what he's gone on to do, and I just find it very interesting hearing the points about the start time. I mean, I must admit, a year ago, I really would have thought that they would have brought the start time forward, partly because the hangover, the late nights, and the holdovers to the next day were not ideal, as he said himself there. But also, when you get that sort of pressure from Novak Djokovic and Andy Murray saying that they should start earlier, that is quite a thing to digest and not go with. But I do take the point, that probably better to see what happens over the course of a couple of years rather than just doing something because it was a bad year. And it really was a bad year of weather last year. I mean, how many times did we end up having to move indoors because of it for this show? So, I do take that point. I mean, personally, I think if you could move it forwards, you would give yourself inevitably more of a space and time in which you can play. But I understand that there's more to it than just wanting to do that.
And I would love to see, like, the data that Jamie refers to there on match times. I was talking to Charlie Eccleshare of The Athletic during Roland Garros, and he was saying that at the US Open last year, he'd sort of looked into match times a bit, and the average men's match at a slam, I believe this was at the US Open, so on a hard court, a bit different to grass, but the average one was lasting 3 hours. And it wasn't that long ago that a 3-hour match was seen as a long match, seen as kind of a big deal. And I do think tennis has got its scheduling wrong in so many aspects. It's still scheduling based on how long matches used to be, and I'm all for not playing in the middle of the night, as I've said many times, but it also was not ideal. I recognise that, having to carry over a couple of matches last year and not be finishing the order of play when there was only 3 matches on the schedule. So be interesting to see what their data is saying about the length of matches. And look, maybe and hopefully it will mean that they often go with a 2 women's matches, 1 men's split. I'm sure they'll try and keep that as even as possible,
which they're doing on the first day, aren't they?
Exactly. I'm sure they'll try and keep that as even as possible. But yeah, I must say I totally understand Jamie's answer. I don't love the idea that final match on centre court quite likely going to be starting under the roof. I think it makes more sense to start under the roof rather than try and squeeze it in, put the roof on halfway through. I get why they've made that change. That seems sensible to me, but still doesn't seem ideal. I think the absolute ideal is you want to be finishing on centre court as around 9:30 when you're finishing on the outside courts as well.
Some good old-fashioned floodlights.
Right.
We've got some.
They, of course, start earlier on number 1 court. It's only half an hour earlier, isn't it? And they start at 1, and it's 1:30 on.
And that staggered start thing originally came about, I think, as a COVID.
Yeah. And they start earlier still, of course, on the outside court. So it's not that they don't have tennis going on everywhere. It's just this one court.
And I think other slams have issues where, if the main show court starts at lunchtime, it's not full. That doesn't really tend to be an issue at Wimbledon. The start time. Okay, now it used to be even later. It used to be 2:00, didn't it, on centre? But there was definitely a period where it was maybe 12:30, I think, pre-COVID, and centre court was full. People do get in their seats, so I'm not sure that would be a reason not to go back to an earlier start time. And I think Sally Bolton said they were comfortable with it. I think what I take from that is if something similar happens again this year, I would imagine maybe there'd be a change next year, but kind of watch this space and let's see what happens.
Okay, well, let's have a look at the order of play on day 1 of the championships. Of course, as we know, we open centre court with the defending men's champion Carlos Alcaraz, 3rd seed at this year's tournament, taking on my new guy, Mark Lyall, the Estonian qualifier that's coming for Alcaraz.
And why is he your guy again?
Well, I liked that he did an Instagram post suggesting that tomorrow's match isn't a foregone conclusion by any means. I liked the chutzpah of that. Good on you, Mark, that I've never seen before. But I mean, you're not going to have a chance unless you go in with that attitude, I don't think. I mean, he's probably going to lose, but he's definitely going to lose unless he goes in with that kind of attitude. So, and by all accounts, he's quite a plucky, punchy guy that'll back himself. I could be fun, is what I'm saying.
He's only 21.
Yeah.
He's 6'3". He's
got vibrant hair.
Yeah, he's got the hair. It's shock peroxide blonde, isn't it?
Yes.
Right.
So, yeah, could be fun. And I do expect Alcaraz to be nervous.
Yeah.
Second on centre tomorrow, Ekaterina Alexandrova, the 22nd seed, against Emma Raducanu. You thought this was a 50-50, David?
Yeah. Yeah, I did. I said I thought Raducanu would win, I think, and I still think that. And I did think it would be centre court, because I think she is such a huge star here. I think she's a really good player. I think what I really like as well, it's a really good match on paper. I love the fact that they're not only scheduling a big star, but they're scheduling a really good match on paper that makes you think that will be a contest.
Yeah, in fact, one of the questions that we had in on the chat for this show was, is it fair or right that Emma Raducanu's being scheduled on centre court tomorrow? Well, first and foremost, I'd say that it's a Grand Slam champion against the 22nd seed, and as we discussed a couple of days ago, it's not a draw that is laden with eye-catching first-round matches. So I think it's valid on those grounds alone, but also every slam favours its home players and elevates their status in the schedule. I think this is a completely legit centre court scheduling, personally.
No issues whatsoever with it.
No.
I mean, I know some people think, it's going to put more pressure on Emma Raducanu. I take that point. She can handle it, in my opinion. In terms of whether it's a legitimate centre court match, 100%.
One of the other questions we had in on the chat was who will get the furthest in this tournament out of Raducanu, Bolter and Jack Draper?
Ooh, great question.
That's a very good question.
None of the other Brits were included in the question. Cam Norrie walked past us earlier.
He did. Don't think it's Cameron Norrie.
Nope.
Look, I think if it's going to sound like a bit of a cop out, but I think if Raducanu wins that tomorrow, I think I would say Raducanu because of the section of the draw she's in. Bolter could have Pegula in the third round, and look, Raducanu beat Jessica Pegula, but that was Jessica Pegula in Eastbourne, just coming off the title in Berlin. The level that Pegula showed in Berlin and has demonstrated over a long period of time now, I think would be a little bit too high for Katie Bolter. But do I think Raducanu is going to beat Alexandra? I'm not certain about that at all. So maybe I'll go Jack Draper.
I'm going Jack Draper.
I would go Draper too, and it's
Zverev and Fritz, fourth round, like to beat both of them back to back would be a hell of a step up.
It's a big ask, isn't it? I suppose I just
capable.
Pretty won over by him generally. I think he absolutely could be beaten by either one of those, but I also believe he could beat either one of those on a day. I think that both matches would be pretty 50-50 on paper to me. And Raducanu, I think she's got the potential to go really deep, but she could also be somebody I think could have a bad day. I think she just hasn't had enough tennis over the course of 18 months. That's why I said I will judge her at the end of next year. If she could have an 18 months under her belt now, having already had quite a good 6 months, I think it's a bit like when I was watching Tommy Paul at Queen's, and he no longer is that player that would occasionally have a good match and then just flame out the next round. It's because he's hardened to it. He's a pro that's there week in, week out. And I think she will become that. And she's got this incredibly elevated level and ability as well. But it's possible she might have a shocker and not go very far here. But don't know which one it's going to be.
Yeah, because I say that about her draw. And if she does get through Alexandra, I do think it's favourable probably, but like winning one match individually is a different thing to stringing wins together, isn't it? And she might be the favourite for those matches going forward, but with the previous match in her legs, with kind of the pressure building, it would just be a lot. It's just something that she hasn't had a lot of reps at over the last few months. So you can look at the draw and think that's really good on paper, but yeah, I do think actually having a run is different. So yeah, I guess I will say Draper as my answer.
Third on centre court.
Round the house.
You did a bit. Third on centre court tomorrow, Caroline Dollarhide against Coco Gauff. I'm saying it, folks. I'm pinning my colours to the mast. I've got Gauff going all the way.
Ooh. Title.
Me
too.
David, who have you got?
No, I think she'll get to the final. But I think Iga Świątek will beat her in the final.
See, if that final happens, I would back Świątek too. but I don't have Świątek getting to the final.
I definitely think. Look, we talked 2 days ago about all the threats in the draw for Iga Świątek, and I mean it's more or less on paper as hard as it could get, with Kenin in the first round, maybe Ostapenko fourth round, Rybakina maybe semi-finals, all these things. Pegula's in that half of the draw, I think. But I just think that she is the best player overall, and will figure it out and end up winning this title.
Court 1 tomorrow starts at 1 p.m. Medvedev event against Kovacevic, the American player. Mina Bektas against Arina Sabalenka, second on Court 1 tomorrow. If Sabalenka plays, we haven't had any further update. She's in the draw, but well, we're all going to be watching that, aren't we, to see where she's at.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the ones on upset watch, I think, tomorrow, purely because of Sabalenka's health. It's funny, Medvedev barely thought about him. I mean, I know that's probably partly because he didn't end up doing a big main press conference yesterday, and normally he's such a feature of our day on media day when they bring all the players in, because he's normally the best press conference. You know, he's fantastic. But we didn't get to speak to him, and you know, I think it's also speaks to kind of where he's at right now. He doesn't really feel to me like a contender for the title, and
not after Pam told us he couldn't serve in practice the other day. It doesn't sound great, does it?
He would have there's potentially an interesting third round for him against Zheng Zhizhen, who beat him last week in Halle, and given his record recently against his biggest rivals, and we think those biggest rivals are going to be there at latter stages, it just feels hard to kind of make a case for Medvedev. But I would love to see him have a run, because, well, it would mean that we'd get to speak to him in the press conferences.
Good player, Zheng Zhizhen. Third on Court 1 tomorrow, Yannick Sinner against Yannick Hanfmann. Stats on matches with two Yannicks on the court, please. Could it be Matt Stat tomorrow? No? Subscribe to the newsletter to find out. Court 2 tomorrow is a good ticket. Dimitrov against Lajovic opens things up. Then Stan Wawrinka against Charles Broome, a British wildcard. Couldn't pick him out of a lineup, but Simon Briggs interviewed him yesterday and says he's lovely. So watch this space. Naomi Osaka against Diane Parry is third on Court 2, and then Azarenka against Stevens. I'm into both of those. Osaka came to press this morning. We weren't there because we weren't aware it was happening, but we did watch it back, and she seems still continues to be in a really great place.
Yes, and she spoke about her game feeling good. She said the transition from clay to grass has actually been easier than the transition from hard to clay that she had to make earlier in the year. She said people keep telling her that she should have a good game for grass and it can suit this surface. She spoke about feeling like she needs some luck in a draw, and she said if she hadn't faced Świątek in the second round, at Roland Garros, she really thinks she could have made a run there. And kind of what I find interesting about that is, we know that she doesn't know her draw, so she's kind of putting that out there, saying I need some luck, and I guess probably hoping that David isn't in the room to say you got to be worried about who's in the second round. But I do think her draw is manageable here. Look, it's tricky in the first round. Diane Parry, I think, can be a very good player and can disrupt, and you know, she's got such lovely touch and slice. I think that there's a world where Osaka just knocks her off the court, but there's also a world where Parry makes it tricky for Osaka to bring those weapons to the fore. But I do think I kind of wanted to say through the screen that we were watching on, this might be the one where you have had a little bit of luck, Naomi. Go for it. And her presence in a draw always just lifts things. So, you know, I'm hoping that it all comes together for her.
We're going to watch some of that, aren't we? Court 3 tomorrow is where Casper Ruud starts off against Alex Bolt.
Also on upset watch.
That's upset watch, isn't it? I mean, it's Ruud at Wimbledon. Of course, it's upset watch. But Alex Bolt, the qualifier.
Who only got in at the very last second into qualifying, I think. And
Riding away.
He was pretty much on his way home, and then suddenly there he
Great
is.
story from last week, wasn't he?
And he was 2 sets down, I think, in the final round of qualifying, and
Saved a match point,
I think so. But he has played, I think, 20 matches on grass already this season.
Wow.
Like a lot of them at ITF level,
Wow.
and absolutely not against anyone ranked anything close to what Casper Ruud is like. But he was playing on grass at a time of the season where you're not even thinking about grass court tennis.
He's
Most
a
of us
spectacular
aren't.
player, he is. And I don't think Casper Ruud will like playing him at all.
Is that the upset we're picking for tomorrow?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it even an upset? the philosophical question that we ask ourselves every year, re Casper Ruud at Wimbledon. Paulini against Sara Sorribes Tormo, partying like it's Roland Garros.
It's funny to think how different that match would look like on a clay court.
Absolutely. It could be quite fun, actually.
Mind you, remember Sara Sorribes Tormo was playing against Angelique Kerber for about 3.5 hours while I was sat outside waiting for the next
listened
match.
to but didn't
Yes.
watch.
Couldn't go. I was commentating on the next match on. I had a little snooze on the bench outside until I got woken by this absolutely rapturous ovation.
It was one of the matches of the year, that
Yeah.
wasn't it? Trevisan against Keys is third on court 3, and then Tommy Paul starts against Pedro Martinez. Matteo Berrettini second on court 12 tomorrow. Liam Brody against Bertik van der Zandschulp. Mira Andreeva also on court 12 tomorrow. If Sabalenka is a question mark in that section of the draw, Mira Andreeva could be a real beneficiary of that in that quarter.
And she's playing fellow 17-year-old Brenda Fruvertova, which
2 17-year-olds.
yeah, I kind of circled that one and Arnaldi Tiafo as kind of my grounds pass
Yes.
match of the day. If I had a grounds pass here, those would be two that I would certainly be making a beeline for.
And Matt, will you be going to court 4 late in the afternoon to troll Sara Errani?
Don't troll Sara Errani. We
Guilty-
support that
Guilty
serve.
pleasure, isn't it?
Yeah, and she's playing Noskova, I believe. Yeah, who will be stepping in on the return, I think.
That will be a comical match
Yeah.
to watch on the Irani serve.
Yeah.
If you're Linda Noskova, where are you standing to receive serve?
On
It's
the
a
serve
save.
slide.
It's a sabre every time, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Well, no, because a saber's a sneak attack.
Right.
Like-
So nothing sneaky. Here.
Nothing
Hers will
sneaky.
be, I'm standing here and I'm going to let you have it.
I think that was going to be extremely fun. I might indulge in a bit of that tomorrow. Okay, so Casper Ruud is our upset watch tomorrow. Would anybody like to declare, seeing as we've declared on the women's front, declare on the men's front who we have winning the title?
Carlos Alcaraz.
I have Carlos Alcaraz defending his title.
I do too. I wondered if anybody would have gone for Djokovic.
I've got Djokovic in the final.
A repeat.
Yeah.
I haven't decided
Imagine
on my
how good
final
that
yet.
be.
I can't imagine not picking Djokovic to get to the final, given
Given the draw.
the draw.
But he just had knee surgery. It's just crazy, isn't it? It's very intriguing. There are lots of really unexpected storylines at this tournament, and yeah, it's not a draw where you instantly look at it and say that's where the stories are going to be, early stages, but I know there are going to be some, and I've got a feeling this is going to be a great tournament, and maybe a great Euros as well.
Come on, Jude.
With our friend Jude over here. We do have an official Wimbledon mascot, and that is lovely Maverick. Hello, Maverick. We've got
Maverick.
Jude, the teddy bear, and we've got Maverick, the German short-haired pointer. It's a great combo, I think. We have our mascots. I have the dearly departed Darwin. David, of course, has Francis. And Matt has Haida and Soma. Billie Jean is sponsored by Billie Jean King and Alana Cloth. Hello, Billie Jean. Hello to both Billie Jeans. We have our top folks and executive producers, Jamie, Jeff, Chris and Greg. You are all legends. Hello to you. And it's over to Matt for our final pre-Wimbledon shout-outs.
We have Kathy Cantwell
Hello, Kathy.
Right, Kathy.
K or a C?
with a K.
Kathy
Like
with a K.
Kathy Jordan, an American player from the mid-'80s, who I think once beat Chris Evert here. Now, I might need to look that up afterwards to be sure, and I haven't got my laptop here. So that's a good test of my my memory, because I was only about 11. I think I'm saying 1984. So, or 80, maybe 83.
Talk amongst yourselves, folks.
Maybe 83, but that's your sort of your window. But Kathy, thank you very much for being a friend of the Tennis Podcast and a shout out.
Keep talking.
I was feeling really well there.
The head-to-head is 9-2, so Kathy did get 2 wins over Chris Evett. The page is just loading. Stand by.
Should we do the next shout out?
Kathy Jordan beat Chris Evett at the Virginia Slims Championships in 1985 and in Eastbourne 1984.
Oh, so close.
So close.
I think
But
we'll
she
give
did
you that,
something
David.
at Wimbledon as well, I think.
Well, not that.
The week after.
Okay.
She beat somebody else. of
I'm
note.
Hello, Kathy.
Hi, Kathy.
Same church, different pew. I'm, of course, a Kathy in some circles. So it's a broad church in Kathy. We welcome you.
We've also got Jessica Schaefer in New York.
Hello, Jessica.
Hi, Jessica.
Like Bagula.
Yeah.
And Jessica says that last year I managed to arrange some travel, so I had a stopover in London on the middle Saturday of Wimbledon, where after many hours of queuing I made it in. And Jessica makes the point that she managed to get tickets through the resale queue, and actually that's something that's a little bit different, I think, this year. Like they've kind of upgraded it so that it's going to be digital. So rather than queuing to get into the grounds and then immediately going to queue for the resale and just spend hours standing there, you can actually go, I think, sign up, and then you'll get a notification, and then you have got 20 minutes to get back to the
Which is
kiosk.
really, really good.
It's a big upgrade, I think.
One year that I came to Wimbledon, I queued pretty much overnight for a grounds pass, and then the second I got in on a grounds pass, sprinted to the hill up here and just joined the resale queue, and most of my day was sat in the resale queue. And obviously at the time I thought this is one of the best days of my life. But if technology had existed to enable me to digitally queue whilst actually enjoying tennis during that time, it would have been an even better day.
And the ticket resale is right next to us now, isn't it?
Yes, it's right next to the area where we're hoping a modest crowd might gather tomorrow night.
A gathering.
At the time of recording. You spoiled us last year, so please come again. my dad and brother are coming tomorrow, so we're guaranteed 2.
Yep.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
And
Thank you, Jessica.
Yeah, thanks, Jessica.
Don't know how we ended up there. But thank you, Jessica.
And finally, we've got Peter Carey or Carey, I'm not quite sure, who is in Canada. And Peter says, I can't wait to see how Casper Ruud's Wimbledon preparations will get into Catherine's kitchen this year.
Like, get up in your kitchen, scrambling your eggs, that kind of kitchen.
Yeah.
Ah, yes, that's very well put, actually.
Casper Ruud has never been in my actual kitchen. That is how rumours
I was
start.
thinking because
Was David worried over my shoulder there?
Billie Jean King and Tim Henman kind of almost have, and Pam Shriver, but not
It's
Casper
been
Ruud.
renovated since Billie Jean King was in it.
Yes.
I wish you'd seen the
Although she
renovated
brought a curry
version.
with her, so you know.
She did, yes. Oh, what a curry it was.
And we were in the Euros semi-finals
Yeah.
that year, so you know, is that a good omen? That's come
The
up.
final of the Euros is on the same day as the Wimbledon men's final.
Yes, and whatever happens, we're going to try not to make the same mistake we did last time, which was recording after England had lost on penalties.
Yeah, what would this show have been like had that last-minute goal not gone in?
Let's.
Anyway.
Well, if you want to find
Like
out,
that
go
one
and listen
that,
to
that we
the
recorded 3 years ago.
Yeah, to the 2021 post men's final show, and you know what depressed post England defeat podcasts sound like. But don't worry, things are looking up on the England front. We're going to get Matt singing "Hey Jude" before you know it. That's going to be a. That's going to be
If
a
England win the
mission.
Euros,
Excellent.
Finish that sentence, Matt.
He's going to sing
we'll
Hey
sing
Jude
Hey Jude.
Okay.
with Jude.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Peter,
There we go.
thank you very much for being a friend.
Peter, Kathy, and Jessica, thank you ever so much.
Peter McNamara. One of our
One
favourites.
last announcement for you folks. King of the Naughties returns for Live from Wimbledon 2024. Last year it was King of the 90s. David was a narrow but very gloating victor. It's returning this year, but as King of the Noughties.
Yeah, because I won King of the 90s too easily, and Matthew, the cameraman over there, has decided that he can't compete with me at that level, so needs something nearer to when he was born.
You're just antagonising him to try and coax him in front of camera,
And
aren't you?
I've very nicely agreed.
Subscribe to the newsletter for daily updates on King of the Noughties. And one last plea from me, please do like and subscribe on YouTube to the video and to our channel if you are enjoying what you're watching. We are now just 15 hours away from the start of play on the outside courts and 17 hours away from the start of play on the show courts. One last moment of silence, the calm before the storm. We absolutely cannot wait. We'll be here nightly to review the day's play and look ahead to the next one, live from Wimbledon on YouTube. We will see you and speak to you tomorrow.